the Blaine Gabbert experiment is over, I guess. And now we're on to Carson Wentz, which, JD, I'm ecstatic. I wanted him last year, and I got called out on our Twitter account from people saying, oh, he's a poison, he's a cancer in the locker, we don't want him in there. I think, he's a talented guy, top 2 pick when he came out in 2016, but Chiefs have finally got their backup quarterback. Last year, the Chiefs were interested in bringing in Carson Wentz, but a year later, he comes to Kansas City. At 31, Wentz becomes the youngest quarterback to back up Patrick Mahomes, which is crazy, at 31 years old. He signs a 1-year deal in Kansas City to learn from the QB guru or whisperer and Andy Reid. JD, what are your thoughts on the Carson Wentz move as our backup quarterback in Kansas City?
You know what? When I heard the news, I'm like, where did this come out of just left field? This signing Carson Wentz. But I tell you, man, look, I like it. I like Carson Wentz. I do. I think he's a very talented quarterback. He's been somewhat of an enigma to me his entire career in the NFL. For the simple fact that we see his talent. We've seen what he's been able to do, score us up in Philly, taking them really to the Super Bowl and the folk taking over and winning. And, that's Carson Wentz's team doing those things, right? So he has a lot of talent. Carson Wentz is probably our most accomplished backup that we've had behind Patrick Mahomes, without a doubt. And I went through the numbers. It's not even close. With game-winning drives, the thing he's been able to do. But somehow, I don't know, his career has kind of derailed itself, where he's maybe not as elite, where everybody was putting him in the elite category. Like literally, probably 5 years ago, everybody was talking about Carson Wentz was really, catching it, top 10 quarterback in the league. Yeah. No doubt about it, right? Everybody wanted him. He's a big guy, big arm, can make any throw you wanted to make. And it just seemed like things just started tailing off. Okay, he goes to different places. Heck, I think he's been in the league, I don't know how many years, but he done played on Commanders, Indianapolis, now the Chiefs, Rams, Eagles. I mean, that's 5 teams right there, Marcus. It's short span. And so I'm sitting there thinking, like, what is it about Carson Wentz that he's just not making do with other places, right? So I don't know. But to me, I think this is a solid transaction for us to get Carson Wentz here. Like I said, some guys at the end of the game, not taking away from them, Blaine Gabbert and, obviously Chad Henne, but Carson Wentz, if you need to throw a couple of balls, he could throw the football. You ain't got no question about that, man. And I think he'll do well here, just in case if Patrick needs a break or something happen. Carson Wentz could be able to carry the game. Not to mention, he was under Doug Peterson up there in Philadelphia, so he understands the offense. He's got all that down. And I'm sure because there was talk and conversation him coming here last year, part of the reason that he is here in Kansas City is probably Andy talked to Doug Peterson, what type of guy is he, what type of winner. He knows all of that. He's been in Philly, and he's got all the goods on him, all the good and the bad about Carson Wentz. So this is not something that was, just kind of like on the humbug, like, oh, what are we doing? I'm sure they vetted him thoroughly, to get him here. So I like it.
It's also like he's trying to like revamp his career in a way, like he spends a year. So we talked about, Eagles to Washington, or Eagles, Indianapolis, Washington, and then to the Rams last year under Sean McVay. That's another guy who's another offensive genius. And then he comes to Andy Reid. It's like, okay, he's trying to rebuild himself again and kind of, recharacterize how people see him going from McVay to Andy Reid. And then hopefully, maybe he looks good in Week 18 and he gets a little Matt Flynn kind of deal where he looks good in that Week 18 game and he gets paid in the offseason. I mean, I doubt that's going to happen. But I love it. I think we're just talking about Mahomes' backups. We say it's the youngest backup he's had in his short career so far. But Chad Henne, Matt Moore, Blaine Gabbert, and Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz is by far the most talented of all those guys, on top of being the youngest. And one thing, too, which a lot of people are saying, we've only run one QB sneak with Patrick Mahomes, and that was that injury where he got in the Denver Thursday night game. Carson Wentz, one of the biggest things he was successful at in his career is the QB sneak. So that's something that could be, Andy likes to cook up a lot of different things. He's a guy who could maybe come in on 3rd and shorts, 4th and inches kind of thing, come in and do a QB sneak here and there. I love that aspect of it. That's a lot of people are talking about online. What do you think about that aspect of it, the QB sneak element to it all?
I mean, it's something that's a plus for us, right? It's definitely a plus. So if you had to put him in for that play, yeah, sure, why not? I mean, it's like a 6'5", man, 237. He's a big dude. He's a big dude. So he'll lean over. He can do all that. That's another thing, man. He's just massive in size. You know what I'm saying? Big frame. I saw him. I didn't have a chance to talk to him. Actually, he was down here at one of the church services. So he actually married a girl who went to school right up the street from me, from Lexington, Kentucky. Yeah, I don't know how that they got together, but I remember being in church and they was like, well, the guy Carson Wentz. I'm like, oh, okay. So I didn't know because one of my kids I was coaching was like, hey, Coach, Carson Wentz is down there. I said, man, I had to go down and go talk to him. I think by that time he was already gone. But be able to see him. Now, Donna Cochran, actually, she made a Donna, you said something out here talking about, once again, mentally, it's hard when people criticize you. There's a statue for Nick Foles in Philadelphia, and Wentz got them almost there before his injury. He was never the same since. That's true. That's true. It just seemed like he just went downhill, and there was criticism among Carson Wentz because he didn't get to win it all. But he got injured. What are you supposed to do with that guy? During his seasons that he played, when you look at his numbers, I mean, shoot, Marcus. I mean, talking about, 2016, he had 3,700 yards, 3,200 next year, 3,000, 4,000, 2019. Then 2,600, 2020, 2021, 3,500. So we're talking about somebody who is very accomplished in the things that he does. So there is criticism because sometimes he'll take chances. He'll throw balls, and you can see when these balls come out, he's thinking, I get this ball there. And maybe not as good as a decision that he should, because he has a big arm, right? You just trust it. You trust in your ability. So I don't think he has any problem with his confidence and him playing. It's other people that's going to criticize that, right? I'm good with Carson Wentz, man. I think it's a good signing for us. I do.
I love it. And also, too, it was interesting. Everyone's mentioning Nick Foles here. I saw, I'm a Sixers fan, so I'm in those Philadelphia circles, so I see what these people have to say with these Philadelphia fans. And they're saying, oh, man, here we go again. Nick Foles was in Philadelphia, goes to Kansas City, comes back to Philadelphia, was the backup to Carson Wentz. The year that many people said that Carson Wentz probably would have won MVP that year, and then he gets hurt week 14. Right. Nick Foles ends up being the quarterback and wins the Super Bowl that year. Everyone's saying maybe same kind of thing. He comes at Philadelphia, he comes to Kansas City, gets right with Andy. Andy, fixes him, or do whatever Andy does to his quarterbacks, and potentially goes back to Philadelphia. He can be the guy who comes in if for whatever reason for Jalen Hurts in the future, he can lead him to a championship. So, the fact that maybe he even talked to Nick Foles too. Maybe that was something. That could be something where he's, hey, go see Andy, be with him for a year, kind of, get right. He'll teach you some things that you may have never seen before, and you kind of look at the game a little differently. So, I think as much as it's going to help us as far as having a reliable backup for the, if God forbid anything happens to Mahomes, but if it all just QB sneaks, we finally have a guy who I'm not scared, like, oh man, like we have to go a whole season with Blaine Gabbert. I wouldn't be as scared. Obviously, Mahomes and Wentz are different levels, but I wouldn't be as scared having Carson Wentz, whereas we were looking at guys like Shane Buechele or Gabbert. But it's beneficial for us, and also him being able to be under the tutelage of Andy Reid for even just a year.
Oh, no doubt about it. I think it's a win-win situation, for him and for us. So it's going to be a good relationship. Like you said, it could be something to revamp in his career to get him back on track, maybe going somewhere else. I don't think it is a better scenario than him being here in Kansas City. And I think you see him smiling in that picture. That's like going to be that happy when he gets here. I guarantee it. So good for him. Good for the Chiefs. So.
Yeah, it's a great move. When I saw that happen, I was like, oh, okay, so this is what we were waiting for, this JariusSneed trade to go to finally process, so we can go pick up our backup quarterback.
Yeah, that was it.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show.
Also, be sure to check out the best clips from Chief Concerns. And if you prefer to listen to the show, subscribe and follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere else you get your podcasts.